Hello, everybody. My name's Kanoi Manika, and do you think we were done? Do you think we were done after last year? You thought I would just leave it at the first wave, but I didn't. You thought I was done, didn't you? I didn't cover any of the new sets in any of my channels up to this point. I didn't even make it seem like I was going to cover these sets. Hell, I let the first week of August go by with just a normal unboxing. But no, it's happening again, because today we are taking a look at the LEGO One Piece Wave 2 Dr. Hiriluk's Hideout, the first of 7 sets in the second wave based on the second season of the live-action television series. Yeah, it's pretty cool that there are more sets. I like One Piece. I like the live-action One Piece. I think it's a very strong show that I think does the source material service. And the first wave of One Piece sets I did really enjoy. I thought it was some of the best LEGO experiences that I've had in a long time. So, of course, we're back again with the second wave, and hopefully it'll be at least close to as good as the first wave. I'll be giving commentary on each of the sets as we go along, obviously, but we're starting with the smallest one, Dr. Hiriluk's Hideout, because I kind of have to. Looking at it, at its face, it's a fairly small LEGO box, which is, to be fair, a pretty big box for a lot of other toys. You can see it looking pretty big in comparison to some of the stuff around it. But yeah, we have a fairly standard $30-ish LEGO box with the LEGO One Piece logo in the corner with that little bit of map flapping downward. Then you have a nice promotional shot of the toy itself. It is a CGI render on top of a background which is the inside of the hideout, so that's a little weird that the hideout is housed within the hideout. Whatever. But the background art does look very nice. I'm sure they got it from some like concept art or promo art that was like officially sanctioned, but it does look good and it fits with what I like out of the LEGO aesthetic anyway, so I think it was well chosen. This set is for ages 9 and up, though this video is for ages 13 and up, so if you are too young, get the fuck out of here. It's set number 75641, Dr. Hiriluk's Hideout, with 271 pieces. It's a building toy. You have that same promotional image of Luffy that we saw last time. In this corner, you see the 3 minifigures that come in the set, Tony Chopper, Dr. Hiriluk, and Dr. Kureha. I believe all of them are exclusive, Chopper less so than the others, but it's nice to get 3 exclusive characters in the one set, and they all seem fitting for the scene. The top continues that little bit of artwork, as well as shows you a 1-to-1 scale shot of Chopper, so that you can get a good idea of the size of the set. Then you have where the components are made, the LEGO Netflix One Piece logo, the name of the set in a couple of different languages. On the bottom, you get going to the app where they have digital versions of the instructions. LEGO Netflix One Piece, the Netflix logo right there. Copyright information for LEGO, for Oda, Shueisha, Netflix, and Damara Studios. The box is recyclable, barcode, other information, recycle stuff, all on a nice map-like background. On this side, you get more of the map, the LEGO One Piece logo, a warning to not choke on the parts, and then right here in the corner, you get the main collectible gimmick of the wave. You get 1 dossier for Baroque Works, which we'll get to. And then on this side, you get the sort of straw hat poster shot of them all as minifigures, but now with Chopper included into the group, which is nice that they updated it for this new wave. I really like that they did. They didn't have to, because this is primarily based on Season 1 promotional art, which they got rid of for Season 2, but it's nice to include Chopper into this group, LEGO Netflix One Piece. And on the back, you get some more shots of the set itself, the One Piece logo here, a nice sort of like sea look that goes into the map. You get the 3 minifigures with their alternate faces exposed alongside the exterior of the build itself, as well as showing the way that you can move the interior to be a little bit bigger or have it be smaller, as well as some shots of the minifigures interacting in the different areas, the bed and the little experimentation table. So it all looks nice. There's also the LEGO website and the random dossier, and you can see that this is a punch tab box. But yeah, that is the box. But I'm thinking it's about time we try to get it unboxed. So join me as we go ahead and get it unboxed and built. And here we are with the finished build, and I'm honestly quite impressed. For something that is only $30, it is fairly nice looking, fairly substantial. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. The last $30 set was also good, but I do think this one might be a little bit better. But first, we do have to go over the accessories, which I guess is the characters and minifigures and extra stuff. So, let's zoom in and start by taking a look at the dossier. So, this wave is doing a very similar thing to last time, as noted on the box, where there are randomly inserted dossiers that come with each set. This one comes with one, specifically mine came with a Mr. 3 dossier, which I'm not mad about. I did want to get a Mr. 3, given he is one of the minifigures that is in the wave, so I wanted a dossier to associate with it. These are worse than the wanted posters, though. This is a legitimate downgrade, I think. I understand the sentiment. You gotta have a way to include all of these extra characters who do not get sets, who do not get appearances in the sets, and also you want to have the collectible gimmick from last time. But I hope you'll remember from when I was doing my reviews last time that I wasn't necessarily particularly that big a fan of the wanted posters and the way that they were included. The only real benefit to those was that they could be included into the set, and extras could be included in other builds fairly easily. They were always integrated within the build in some way, shape, or form, even if it is a little bit lazy in some of them. They ultimately did feel like they improved the set, and even if you got a wanted poster you didn't necessarily want. For this, though, they just kind of include it and hope that you're fine with collecting them all, which I'm not very happy about. It is nice that we get, different looks for Baroque works, and I'm glad that they shook it up, I guess, a little bit, but these are not accurate to anything that really shows up in the second season, or in One Piece as a whole. It's just an annoying way to, I guess, drive up, sales through this sort of randomized process, and I do not like it at all. By removing the aspect where it is integrated into the set, they have ultimately made it worse, and now I can fully, I guess, disavow it. I'll still try to get all of them, but it'll mostly be through aftermarket purchases. Now that we got some of that negativity out of the way, I guess let's look at the 3 minifigures, which I kind of have set up here. I guess we'll go with the simplest first, and somewhat the most disappointing. We have Dr. Kudaha, who's looking fairly nice, a little simple, but pretty dang good. She does have a lot of aspects that you would want. I do find the glasses do work fairly well. I would have liked maybe a more opaque look for them, but given this is the live action, it makes sense. I do like that the way that they are gold printed, though. It gives them a nice shine. The hair is pretty perfect. This is a pre-existing hair piece, but I do think it works very well for who she is and for how she looks in the show. Maybe something slightly more specific could have been nice, but I do think this works very well. The shirt print is very nice, the sort of polka dotted look with the V-neck. I think it does look very good. It's a very unique torso, and also gets paired with something nice and premium, dual molded arms to give her a nice short-sleeved look, though she also has her brown gloves. And then from there, some plain purple pants. Also, she has a second side to her face. It doesn't have the glasses, unfortunately, but it is a little bit more stern, which does feel a little bit more Kudaha, but I do think this minifigure works fairly well, though it is annoying this is the only Kudaha. I believe it is accurate to the flashback episode in the live action. I believe this is what she wears, but it is not her most iconic look, and this is the only Kudaha that you do get in the wave, so we're not going to get her most iconic look, unfortunately. So it is a little bit disappointing, but at least we got a Dr. Kudaha, one that does look fairly nice and has a decent amount of extra stuff put into her, and I do think it works fairly well, but she is not the highlight of the set. That would come down to our other 2 minifigures. So, first off, let's take a look at Dr. Hiriluk. He comes with a little bag that is unfortunately stickered for that little detail, which is a little bit annoying, but it is nice that he has his little bag. Anyways, I do like it. The skull and crossbones is nicely designed, nicely done, even though it is made smaller. And yeah, that works. But even better is the minifigure itself, because look at this. Look at all this new stuff. The torso is pretty perfect. It has the look down pat for how he should look. The green shirt with those cross-shaped buttons, and then the undershirt in that sort of a V-stripe shape. And the jacket going down all the way down to the legs. It's very clever, a clever way to do a very simple print, but it does work, and I love the purple polka-dotted pants They look really nice. And something I think does really add to it is the little bits of highlighting on the jacket that are done up in a green. But yeah, they're done up in a slight green, which feels very fitting and I think works very well. Though, obviously, your standouts come from the upper half of the body with the face, which is very emotive. Let's take a look at both sides. We have the big bushy eyebrows and the little bit of stubble with this smiling face, which does feel fitting for him, and then a sort of angrier face, which again, I do think works, though I'm going to keep it with the smiling face because I do think that fits better. And then, of course, we get this wonderful dual molded hat hair combo element, which perfectly recreates how Dr. Hiriluk looks within the series. It's very well done. No rubberiness to the hair, which is pretty surprising, but it works. It's very nice, and it's nice that he gets this one bespoke mold. He did not have to, though. I do think he did have to, but they could have just not done it. But this is such a nice premium Dr. Hiriluk minifigure. He's a standout of the set. Probably the best minifigure in the set. Though, of course, I think one of the reasons that people will not be buying this set specifically is for the next one. The bespoke Chopper minifigure. And this is pretty unique, as it does have a unique sculpt as part of it. It has this lower body, which I can actually probably display this a little bit, is completely all new. It is similar to the baby mold that they've done, but it is slightly larger. Actually, give me a sec. Here is Chopper compared to the previous baby mold. This is for a Grogu. This is before they changed how Grogu looks for the new movie, but here he is in comparison to that, and as you can tell, he is a lot bigger of a torso, almost toddler-sized. And as you can see, there's also a little bit more printing, where previously they could only really do it on the front torso. Here, we have a lot more detail on that front torso with a nice furry look, but also on the back torso and on the feet. Plus, this version of the mold is dual molded, allowing him to have his pants, which is very nice looking. Of course, he also uses a normal minifigure head, which feels a little bit flat, but I do think works for Chopper. And alongside that, his hands, rather than just being clips, are actual hands. So they have a full swivel and can hold things that minifigures can hold. There are probably some limitations based around spacing, but for the most part, if a minifigure can hold it, Chopper can hold it. From there, he also has this wonderful hat mold, which is sort of triple molded in its way. Two main hard pieces of plastic for the ears, as you can see down there, in that sort of like tan-ish color. And then, of course, the pink for the hat, which is a little bit more anime accurate than it is live action accurate, though I think for going cartoony, I think that's the look I prefer. Plus, it has these rubber antlers. It's a little annoying that the antler here has the little band on it. While it goes unprinted in both versions of Chopper that you get, both of them have that sculpted. I get why they wouldn't want to remold it for this one scene, and besides, there are some moments within the flashback where he does have his little antler taped back up. It makes sense. Plus, the printing of the X on the head is fairly nice. A little bit low opacity, but not by much. From there, you do get the main thing that makes this version unique. You do get a unique face print, where we have this sort of smiling happy Chopper here at the front with his blue nose and his eyes, which are very cute, and a little bit of fur around it. But you also do get a crying Chopper. You always got to have at least one crying minifigure in a one-piece wave, and this is the one that they chose. Fitting, given that this is the flashback. Again, I'm glad that they have that. I think that's... I pontificated about it previously, but I really do like that they include these crying faces to make it feel like a whole expression of what One Piece is. But yeah, that brings us to the set itself. And this one is pretty dang good. I'm going to start with the exterior, though. So let's turn it around to get a good look at the exterior, which is honestly surprisingly nice. It is certainly a little shallow on the top. It does kind of cut off like so, but pointed like this, you can see how good it looks. The door is a sticker, which is pretty annoying to get on. I think that's probably my biggest complaint with the build experience. There's a lot of stickers, but most of them are fairly decent. They're all on flat surfaces at least, but this one, given you got to work it around this little cubby and the shaping of everything of that door, is pretty annoying. But everything else is at least on a flat surface that's easy enough to get aligned, so that's not bad. But I do love the shaping of this sort of exterior. It's pretty parallel, though there are slight differences in the way that the rock structures are sculpted and the way that the snow piles on top of it. But it is fairly parallel, but it looks very nice as a sort of facade. You got your two little windows, which have some nice clear plastic in them. You have these little vines or I guess roots from this tree up here, which do look very nice. But I do love the way that they're using these big 2000s era parts, like the sort of slope parts that are often maligned. I do think they're making some fairly natural rocky structures out of them. And I think it's just some very clever use of parts that aren't used that much these days. Alongside that, we do have this tree, which does have some posability. It's on a ball joint, though you're not going to get too crazy out of it. It does allow for some small adjustment, which has these plant elements that have been around in the LEGO system for a while, but I haven't had a chance to have them. I don't believe. I might have had once or twice, but not memorable enough to really talk about. But these tree pieces are really nice. I like the leafy structure to them. Plus, they are on this nice horn piece for the trunk, which this is the best I've ever seen this part used for a trunk, in my opinion. There is one little spoke because it's made up of like a wheel piece, but yeah. We also have these smaller trees which hinge on like these little plates here, which again do look very nice. These nice fern parts I do think are fairly nice, though there is a little bit of annoyance in the way that they stack up here in the center, making it feel a little uneven. But these fern pieces are very nice, and I really like the way that they have the snow-topped look for each of them on each side. Plus, I do like the little smoke billowing out of the sort of like, I guess, chimney. Though, it does get a little bit more plain here on each side, with it just being a flat panel. I get it, it's kind of on the side, and this is the least flattering angle for it, the angle that the least number of people are going to look at it, but it is a little annoying. Though it does take up a decent amount of shelf space. It's certainly at an angled corner, and at that most, it's got over like 6 inches of depth when fully closed. So it does take up a decent amount of space, and feels fairly substantial for what you're building. It does feel fairly big. It is a little bit under-pieced, but it at least feels like it takes up the space that you would want out of a $30 set. That means we should go inside. You can open the door, thankfully, for play purposes, and just walk yourself on inside, where I'm going to take the minifigures out. We might play with them a little bit. This is where things look nice and extra detailed. We'll start with the center, where we have this sort of rug assembly, which is very nice looking. I do love how they've done rugs in this series so far, and this is no exception. The sort of like teal and dark blue, I think, pairs very nicely. I do think that looks very nice. And we have these 2 seat areas. One that's like an actual chair that can swivel around since it's on a single jumper plate. And this one's that just kind of is a single jumper plate. I imagine you could put Chopper on that and have him sort of settle down as like a little mat or something. So that's cute. And yeah, it allows for a nice little look from the entryway, which is very nice. And I like that the entryway looks a little bit snowed in just because of the particular door piece that they used. And I do like the little supports here and a little bit of dirt there to kind of imply that this is a little bit underground. Moving on, I guess we'll go on to this side where we have a couple of bottles, though unfortunately those are like stickered elements. Let's actually look a little bit closer. Yeah, those are unfortunately stickered elements, so that's a little bit fussy, but they do look nice as just like a bunch of bottles. And we have this really nice building technique down here where we have a sort of bookshelf in front of a desk. It's a lot of simple plates, but they do end up looking very nice, and they do get hidden nicely on the front side thanks to this construction. Yeah, those look really pretty. And we have this little desk lamp, which looks very nice, and a little like quill. And of course, as a stickered element, we have the page of the sort of like book of like medicinal ingredients with the little skull and crossbones, which of course you had to include that with the little deadly mushroom. It's just a nice little callback to the episode. Really shows that they really put a lot of care and effort into this set. From there, we move on to this side where we get a little bit more of those sort of botanical details to show a bunch of different plants and their medicinal purposes, which is another nice little sticker. Then we have Chopper's cute little bed. This is, again, a sticker, which is a little annoying, but it works fine with that nice sort of almost polka dot-y print for the bed sheet. We have a little bit of pillows. And I do really like the sort of like implication of like a frill on the side with these sort of like dots pieces. Those are very nice. And then of course we have the main pillow right here. And you can, there's no real connection point, but you can just kind of lay Chopper down on it, because it's a bed. Moving on to the other side, we have one of my favorite parts of the build, this sort of chimney, fireplace chimney assembly. It has a very cartoony look with the specific angles of it going up and out into the chimney in the back. But it just looks very nice alongside that. The sort of arched look with the little bit of fire on the inside. This sort of implication of like logs next to it, which is very cool. And the specific way that this goes on, it's a little loose, but these sort of two candlestick pieces which go at this angle and then clip in there is very fun and very clever to do. I guess speaking of, this build experience is fairly simple but breezy. It took me about 40 minutes to put it all together. Obviously, the time lapse is a lot shorter than that, but, you know, it took me about 40 minutes, and overall, the build experience was fairly simple, but, like, nothing super stood out. Again, we had these bookshelves, which I think were a nice exception, and I do like how everything came together, but there's no, like, blows your pants off specific moments in the build. I'm not necessarily expecting that, because this is a $30 set with 271 pieces. There's not a lot of room to do stuff, but there are a lot of smaller techniques which add a lot of nice aesthetic detail, which is why I'm going over them now, rather than like having their own bespoke build section. From there, we have his little laboratory piece with the big sort of Sakura experiment right there in the center, which is nice to have. In the instructions, it has this and like this like sparkling, and then it has like this little like orange piece gooing out for some reason. I guess to make it more fun for younger builders. It's a little strange, but sure. They're on a fairly simple but nice table alongside all these other little like potions and like little bits, which is very nice. Makes it feel nice and cluttered. And I forgot to mention as well, you do get his Jolly Roger above the fireplace. It is a fully removable flag, so you can use it however you want. This is a sticker, so it's a little bit uneven on each side, unfortunately, but it is, again, nicely designed, nicely printed for his Jolly Roger, and I'm really glad that I have it. So yeah, that's the basics of the build. The only other thing that I should note is there is a slight amount of articulation to it. Obviously, these hinge and this hinges, but the two different sides, while this is the small collapsed form, can hinge out to make this feel a little bit bigger and a little bit more substantial to give this space as a bit of implied play area. And I do think it's very clever. These kind of act as natural stoppages, the little trees here, so it doesn't go all the way out and just kind of feels like it's at its maximum width. While, again, making it so that you do have a nice-looking, spacious little interior for play purposes, while also allowing the exterior to feel somewhat more compact, a little bit more realistic, and fairly nice. It's a very clever way of doing it. It's very simple, but I do think it really works for the sort of, I guess, dollhouse role-play play pattern that this set has. And I guess that's something worth noting. There aren't really a lot of gimmicks outside of that. Again, I'm personally not expecting it because it is a very cheap set, but this set very much relies on your ability to either display it, which I do think it is very displayable, especially here on the inside, though the outside is very displayable too. Or as like a child, I guess, to dollhouse play, which is a very fun play pattern. I do think there's so much, like, I guess, clutter in this sort of spacious area that it does really allow for a lot of opportunity to have that sort of dollhouse play experience. You can, of course, have Dr. Hiriluk working over here with his, like, medicine and whatnot. You can have him put Chopper to sleep. You can have any number of characters having conversations over here. You can have him writing up his little, like, guide on, like, mysterious plants. You can have Chopper looking at it over here. You can have them chilling by the fireplace. You can have them talking about the little, the Jolly Roger. There's just so much in this interior that really, I think, has the ability to spark play in a younger audience. If you are a parent, I guess, watching this and you're wondering if this is a set to get, I do think this is fun for children as well. A little bit more fun than the previous flashback set. And I guess that's the final thing to note. This does take its place as the sort of quote-unquote flashback set of the wave, where last year we got the passing of the torch moment. This time we get the Chopper flashback. And if I'm being honest, of the two sets, if you're just only going to get like a couple sets, this one might be more worthwhile because you do get Chopper. The big problem with doing flashback sets is that you don't really get contemporary characters. But this one, you do get Chopper, and you do get a decent version of Dr. Kudaha, and since she doesn't really age that much, or at least age that visibly, between the flashback and the present, I do think that she'll fit in with whatever collection that you get. The only character who's kind of stuck in this sequence is Dr. Hiriluk, though he is kind of necessary for the moment. In comparison to last time, where basically you're just playing with Shanks, if you want to expand outward, and he isn't really in a lot of scenes anyways, at least up to this point in the manga, and especially in the live action. With that one, it was a lot of exclusive focus on that one sequence, and as a cheaper set, kind of felt a little awkward just because it didn't really have a lot that pertained to, if I were to put it, I guess, what people might want out of just getting one and done One Piece moments. So this one, I think, is overall a little bit better of a deal. It's a little bit better of a set, because I feel like it's a lot more playable. And I do recommend it. It's probably the better of the two $30 sets. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like on it so that I know I should make more videos like this, even though I will be making these other One Piece sets. Let me know for other future LEGO videos. Be sure to leave a comment what you think of this episode of the live action, what you think of this set, what you think of this moment in the manga, anything that is related. I really appreciate hearing your thoughts, and I will try my best to respond to them. So, yeah. Be sure to check out the channel for previous videos. I've covered basically every previous LEGO One Piece set, barring, one Brickheads, which, get back to me on that. I'll get to you later. And be sure to subscribe, because there is more coverage of LEGO One Piece Wave 2 coming in the future, though next week is going to be something a little different and, might I say, a little special. So be sure to subscribe so that you're ready for that. And until next time, I'll see you all around. Bye-bye!